Welcome to the Startup Grind. Alexander is the CEO and the founder of Joiz TV. What's the best description of Joiz? No, one sentence.
No, one sentence. So we are a cross-media TV company, but also a platform who does a very exciting and very interactive youth program for a young generation.
I told a friend of mine last week about it, and I saw him a few days later, and he said he went to the Joiz TV, and the presenter said, "Oh, welcome, newcomer." So it seemed like he thought that there was some direct link to the monitoring and the engagement, and he thought that was pretty unique how interactive and engaged it is. So where do you come from? Do you come from the big city? Do you come from a village? Are you?
I came from Aarau, honestly. That's not really a big city, even if it's the main city in the canton. Mm-hmm. But I grew up there, and I live now for 19 years in big cities, not only in Zurich, but also lived in Berlin and New York. So I love more the big city groove than the small city one.
Okay. And what were your child ambitions? Did you want to be a reporter, or because you have a reporter background and you've done a lot of that? You were running with a TV station previously. As a child, were you interviewing your parents, and what was where did that come from?
No, not really. So I studied civil engineer. So at the end you have to decide one time what you do in your life, and I decided it was always easy to do this math thing. So for me it was clear to do something like this because it's rather easy. On the other hand, I wrote to finance my lifestyle for a newspaper, for the Aargauer Zeitung. So every Saturday I go to a club and I wrote about concerts and stuff like this. I was paid per sentence, so per sentence 1 Swiss franc.
This was very young. At what age?
I started with 17, something like this.
Okay.
And it was always fun, but on the other side, I also had a lot of interest in mathematics, physics, and stuff like this. So it was rather easy to do that. So I decided to do civil engineer. I studied, I finished, and then during the studies, I always saw what kind of passion was in this journalism thing, and to do expressive things. And engineers normally are not that expressive. Let's say it's like this. So it was for me something like I want to explore more, and I decided to do more on that.
Okay. And when you were young, did you feel you were going to start a business, or did you think you'd have work as an engineer, or you wanted to start your own company? Where did you get the entrepreneur bug?
Honestly, with 18, as I mentioned, I was in Aarau, and Aarau those days wasn't, maybe not that Aarau these days, but it was like this, that Saturday evening you have nothing to do there. So was one club, and they didn't have the sound we liked, and Zurich was those days also, maybe they don't have this, S-Bahn and night trains, so really if you don't have a car, it wasn't possible to go to Zurich. So we decided, some colleagues decided to do a sort of a club on your own, and we started the first business there. It was quite a lot of work, but also very successful, I have to say that. So we sold it after 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And we started a bar. It's still still one of the owners there. Because it was the same with 20 in Aarau, there was no cool bar, so we decided, okay, let's do a bar. And yes, it worked. So, what I saw there is always something about entrepreneurship. It's a cool thing to start something, right, to have a lot of ideas, to work as a team together on an idea. And at the end of the day, if you see also customers coming in, joining the bar or the club and having fun, it's quite a success to see that. It's more, the passion is more about building something than having at the end of the day money. Right. So it was something like this. And after my studies, I worked for huge TV companies. So starting a TV business, I mean, 15 years ago wasn't an option for me because I wasn't born very rich. So to start a company, to start a TV broadcast, you need a lot of money. So for me, it was okay. I decided to go.
But 15 years ago is when you first had the idea for Joiz.
Exactly. No. The idea came later.
Okay.
No. As I started to go into the business, for me it was absolutely clear that I have to be an employee like everybody. I was there. I had a great job. Also, have to say that.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of exciting things. So I was absolutely happy. Even I wasn't an entrepreneur those days.
Okay. But when did you start thinking about the concept of Joiz?
I mean, I started 2 or 3 times a new TV channel, not on my own. I was one of the first crew of RTL and Pro7 in Switzerland. So we started, 15 years ago here in Zurich. So with a lot of money, I have to say that, with 20 million Swiss francs per year. And after 7 months, it was already finished because they decided in Cologne that it's over and out. So I saw a rise there. And on the other hand, I was one of the founding members of Swiss Music Television, also those days. And they sold our company after 6 months to Viacom today. So I also saw there that it's possible to do something in this business. And but on the other hand, the market in Switzerland, the TV market was rather hard, and I think as you know from press and stuff like this, I mean, since I would say 5 or 6 years, it's possible to do sort of a business. Before it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, I was one of the program developers in Swiss national television, so I had quite a huge green field to do what I want, more or less. And one of the projects we had was nearby in the same building here, was called Startup, the Way to Your Own Company. And one of my co-founders of Joiz and myself, we were project managers here. So we saw again this startup field, and we saw what was possible those days. And we tried to integrate the community with TV. So it was those days a platform called OpenBC. I don't know who's familiar with it. Today it's called Xing, but those days it was OpenBC. And we tried to figure out, so this new online thing, it was 2007, yes, this new online thing, community thing, to integrate that in TV. I wouldn't say it was a huge success, but it was a lot of things we already invited there, what we see, or invented there, we see it's working on one way, and it's something that could also happen outside of Swiss national television. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was one of the, I think, first ideas there.
As far as merging the television with the online?
Absolutely, yeah.
And when did you see for yourself as a viable business, you know, the concept of launching your own TV channel? How did that come about, as far as you understanding, this is for me, I can do this on my own? I mean,
as I mentioned, I was program developer for Swiss national television, so I saw all the projects inside, and I was sure that doing stuff like Joiz wouldn't be the first choice for the Swiss national television, for sure, because they had a lot of different problems, but maybe not this one. Mm-hmm. So this is one thing. The other thing is really, if you do innovative stuff, it's really hard to do it if you have 2,500 employees or more, right, in an old-fashioned business. So I decided to have a break after 9 years like this for Swiss TV, and I went to the Silicon Valley for 5 months. So this was very inspiring for me, I have to say that, because on one side I realized how many people there have different visions and ideas, but the idea is just maybe 5 or 10%. At the end of the day, it's what you do out of this idea, and you have to find the right guys to really work on this idea. Mm-hmm. And this is one thing. And the other thing is really I talked to many people, also Google guys in the Valley, guys from Facebook, from other very international companies, to TV companies, to find out the two worlds, this TV world and this online world is merging together in a way. Everybody was talking about that, but at the end of the day, and it was 2008, so nobody was really sure what's going on. And the online guys, like the guys at Google, they really had no clue what TV is. And if you spoke to TV guys, they have no idea what online and this social media and this OpenBC Facebook thing is. So one thing was really to bring both worlds together and to find out what could be their business model. And yeah, I think after 5 months, I was pretty sure that I have the model. First day back, I quit the job, and yeah, I started.
Cool. And do you see MTV as a competitor, or is it a completely different world? So the other music channels, and what does it feel like as the new kid on the block?
I mean, maybe you have to look on different parts of the world. I would say in the US they do a pretty good job still, and in Europe I have to say they're very weak from my point of view. They're
taking the lead in that area on the European side.
I mean they're always investing money in their core business, in their home field, and that's the US. And the rest of the world, they really, I mean, I strongly believe in local content. People, they want to interact with local content. I mean, for example, even on Facebook, you interact with your colleagues, with your friends, with your family. This is local content in a way, even if it's not local in a geographical way, but in the way how you interact. But they go absolutely the other way. They produce in one location in the US and they spread it out in the world. And I think that's maybe working in some ways. For example, music, that's always a global thing. But on the other hand, you need local content. And they cut everything what they could do outside of the US down. And for us, it's a good thing. If they didn't have done that in the past 10 years, I wouldn't say Joiz is there. I'm absolutely sure. This is one thing. The other thing is, it's always like, if you have an old brand, it's hard to be innovative. That's what I also saw in other huge companies. It's hard to be innovative because everybody's saying, yes, but 10 years ago we tried and it doesn't work. So nobody has the idea or has also the reason to change something there, because maybe something to change could also, change also something in your way how you work there, and maybe also have an effect on your own place. So nobody wants to change something, and I think this is the hard way.
Okay. And so what was it like at the beginning when you were ready to go for your Series A fundraising? I guess it's a pretty big step for any startup, and it's a very interesting question. A lot of entrepreneurs, it comes up a lot here in Zurich in my engagement with people. People are always curious about the investment rounds and fundraising and so forth. When you were ready to go for your Series A, how?
I mean, the investment round is always the end of a long way normally, because I think personally you have 3 things in a startup life. You all have to really to look at it. One thing is the market. Is there a market? If no, you have a problem. Then the other thing, what's the product exactly? I think you have really to work on that, and that's also what I learned in the US, especially in Silicon Valley. They always talk about the product with everybody, and in Switzerland, normally somebody has an idea and then he wants to tell nobody because he has a fear that somebody can steal the idea. So it was absolutely opposite. They took me to secret meetings and told me, okay, you were going to hear a lot of things. It's not for public, but for you, that's okay. But the only thing what we want is we want your opinion. What would you do better than we have? The idea what we have, and I think this is something very great, and I learned a lot about that. So I think the first thing is, as I mentioned, the market, the product, and then the team. And from my perspective, the team is absolutely the most powerful thing, and I would again work hard on that to find the right guys for this.
As a key selling point.
Absolutely, because you need them. Yeah. An idea that's very nice, even if you have the best idea, if you have a weak team, it's never going to fly, I'm absolutely sure. If you have a weak idea, but the team is great, they will find a new way maybe to change the product, to find the market, even if there's no market. They will find something, but with a weak team, you're lost, absolutely. So that was also my thought coming back, and I found 4 co-founders. So at the end of the day, my boss at Swiss TV came with me. So my colleague Dominic, who was one of the project managers with me here at Google, came with me, and 2 other guys. We have a long relationship together. We know each other very well. I think that still now it's very important to have them on board. That's the most important part. And with them, then, okay, you have to write a business plan. Yes, you have to do it. It's a pain, but you have to do it. Because at the end, after writing it, you can really throw it to the rubbish, because it's not going to be like this. But you have to work on that. You have to think about it. You have to go through this. And you have to think about all the details. On the other hand, next day will be another day and will change everything. So this is the second step. But the third step is then approach investors. And I have to say that because I had a very senior team, it was rather easy to find money in Switzerland. So after, I would say, the second or third meeting, we had the money together for the first round. So.
And overall, what did you learn from your experience with engaging with VCs? What's the key, or the thing that stood out the most?
Yeah,
what would you suggest to the local Swiss entrepreneur looking for?
I absolutely strongly believe if you have a good team, a good value proposition, a market is there in a way, or somebody's believing in that, so you will find the money. I'm absolutely sure.
And about the market, how did you, because that's also something very challenging. I mean, either it's something obvious that the market is there, or you have to, usually it's an idea and you believe there is a market. So
absolutely.
How do you validate that market if you don't have an MVP, or if you don't,
You can't really validate it. You don't have to do, you're told that hockey stick, so you write unbelievable numbers there and you think you were going to grow this big. I mean, it's really hard to estimate that, but it has to be reasonable. You have to, at the end of the day, if you write the business plan and somebody is asking you this figure, why do you think it's like this? You have to give them an answer, and the answer has to be in a way clear to that. So it hasn't to be just numbers for the spreadsheet. It has to be something, substance behind. You have to really think about it, and you need some answers. And sometimes it's true, sometimes not. It's really hard to say. But at the end of the day, I strongly believe the VCs will believe you more than the paper you have written on it. So I'm strongly believe that.
And your engagement in the last few years with the Swiss VC and angel environment, the ecosystem here, do you have a lot of engagement there? What is your opinion, your feeling for the Swiss investor and angel investor ecosystem?
I mean, we have a very close relationship, and maybe I have to say who's our investors. Maybe that's nice also here. We have one of the VCs is Creator Venture. This is a German VC with a Zurich office. They're invested in 2 or 3 Swiss companies. They sold Doodle. Maybe you're familiar with Doodle. Doodle was one of the companies. The other one is Swizz in Switzerland. It's also a Zurich-based company. So it's a very nice company. I mean, they're invested in about 30 or 40 startups in Germany, France, Austria, Nordics, and Switzerland. And that's very nice because they have a lot of background and they see a lot of online and different relationships, and they also open doors for not just for money reasons, but also for maybe partnership reasons and so on. So this is also very important. It's not just about money, but it's absolutely more. And the other one is Schweizer Kantonalbank. They have a Stiftung here. So they invested a small share. It's just a small share, but it's also very important. And then we have some private business angels. They're invested, and a family office in Zurich. So it doesn't sound like very international, but at the end of the day, I have to say, if you talk about money and if you talk about an international business, and Joiz is an international business, you always talk about international relationships. And I think this is also important. And from my perspective, if I also look what I've learned in the Silicon Valley, I mean, the problem is really that the money here is not really everywhere. I mean, in the valley, it's absolutely unbelievable, and and things like WhatsApp and Facebook wouldn't exist here because the money is not here. That's how it is. We have to face that. That's how it is. I'm absolutely sure, because ideas are here, but I think we invest in another way. It's more secure and everybody's looking. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I have also to say I strongly believe that we don't have enough ideas here, and we don't have enough people here who really believe that they put everything on the table and they go for it. I strongly believe it's better than 5 years ago. I'm also pretty sure, but it's not the same thing like in the US.
Too comfortable.
Yeah. For example, I was at Stanford, and it was really exciting because I met their students. They had 2 months off in the summer season, and they said, "Oh, I started 2 companies during the summer season, and it was great because the first one didn't work. After 3 weeks, we drop it down, and okay, and next one I tried again." I mean, it's unbelievable. During 2 months here, somebody needs 2 years to decide, is it possible to do an own company? I write a business plan, and I have to discuss it with all my friends. And then they do it, maybe. Yeah. And it's completely, it's in another way. And I think it's also from a personal perspective. I've also said, if I talk also to my parents, and also my father was a little bit shy because he said, you have a great job, and at Swiss TV you could be one day the director or something like this. But on the other hand, to be an entrepreneur means also a lot of risk. Mm-hmm. And we're not used to do that in Switzerland. I think this is one of the biggest challenges we have to face it if we talk about the startup scene in Switzerland. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, of course. And what about there's a lot of Swiss startups who have been sort of migrating to Germany for a variety of reasons, cheaper labor and cost of development and different ideas, different reasons. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we also went to Germany.
But you're still here.
Yeah, we're still here, yes. I wouldn't leave Switzerland. Yeah. I mean, we have to say we have about 130 employees right now. We are 3.5 years old. So it's quite hard to really manage that in this short time, I have to say that. On the other hand, we have about 60 employees here in Switzerland, and about 60 employees in Berlin right now. And if you look to the costs, for sure, that's a huge difference. I have to say that in Germany, you really find cheaper people, especially in Berlin. But it's not only true. I mean, if you really look to very good and senior people in different positions, really hard to find them also in a let's say, for us, in a cheap way. On the other hand, you find, let's say, not that experienced, for example, journalists. Just to give you an example, if you talk to them with 5 or 10 year experience, they expect about 30,000 euros. So if somebody lives in Switzerland, he knows that's not very much. That's how it is. So that's one side. On the other side, I have to say, and I have to now find the right words, because it's sometimes a little bit dangerous if Swiss guys talk about Germany, but also my thing is what I see here in Switzerland. I think this is a cultural difference in a way. I strongly think that we act very democratic here in Switzerland. We used to have 700 years, no kings, no monarchy, no whatever here. So we really believe that everybody has to talk. So that means if you decide something as a CEO, you have always to integrate everybody. That everybody thinks that he has a part of the idea or maybe a part of the decision. That's important. But on the other hand, even if an internship here in Zurich has a good idea, we do it. We do it for sure and immediately. And nobody in the company says it's only an internship. So why do you think so? And I think in Germany it's not that. It's really not that. So you're faster in decisions. They really strongly from up to down, they're saying, yes, let's go, exact decision, and next day they do it. But on the other hand, if an intern has an idea, it's really hard to manage it, that the normal guys there think that's a good idea. Maybe not the senior management team, but the team between, it's always not that easy to find that. And I think this is a very strong thing in Switzerland, because, you know, we're talking about all these social things and social collaboration and all that stuff with online and stuff like this. In Switzerland, we do social collaboration since 700 years, so it's nothing very exceptional for us. So if somebody has the idea and if somebody has a good point, we do it immediately. So this is social collaboration, I think, strongly for Switzerland, also for every company. This is a huge benefit if you do this. It's not a reason, for example, Google does that also internally, but they do it with another approach. We have that already in our cultural feelings, and I think this is a very strong point. So it's not always just about costs. If you do stuff in Germany, that's absolutely fine. We do that also, for sure. We do stuff where we say it's easier to do that in Germany instead of Switzerland. That's absolutely good. But on the other hand, I think we have also here very strong skills in Switzerland. Yeah.
And as far as the company culture, obviously as a young company, you start off with that family environment, and as you grow more and more people, now you said 130 people. How do you maintain that culture as you grow, and then also as you expand into other real cultures of Germany? Of course, you would like to transmit that feeling and that culture and that environment to there as well.
Yeah, that's hard work, I have to say. I think it's the most hardest part as an entrepreneur from my perspective, because to copy a product or to go in another market, that's maybe the easier thing. Because if you, like Joiz, we have a success in Switzerland, also from a cash point, so we're cash flow positive already after 2 years here. So that's easy to copy that into other markets, because that's a lot of technology. It's a code, you copy it, so that's easy. But on the other hand, the culture is the hard thing. And even, I mean, if you look back to the company, I started alone, then we were maybe 5. I think that changed already a lot, being alone or being 5. Then being 15, it was all, I would say it was all another approach. Then being 50 also again in Switzerland, because I mean, being 15 it was, I mean, everybody was together in one room, open office, everybody was talking together. 15, it needs more, you know, you need a little bit HR, you need a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Then we are now in 3 countries, in Serbia because we have programmers there, in Germany and Switzerland. It's a lot more, it needs a lot more structure, a lot more, things internally. And I think this is the hardest part also as an entrepreneur to always change your company. I mean, as I said, we are 3.5 years old, that's not a lot of time. So we hire more or less every year 50 new persons, and to find them and to manage them that they understand it's Joiz and it's not another company or it's not a normal company. That's the hardest part. I mean, for me personally, what does it mean? It means that I'm every week in Germany since the start. So we started last August, and the first 2 or 3 months I was more than every week, 1 day there. I was 2 days, 3 days there, sometimes the whole week. So it was hard for the Swiss guys, because so we had to find somebody who runs the Swiss business. On the other hand, now I see after 5 or 6 months, they see what's Joiz, they feel the spirit, they go the right direction, and now I have more time to be here, for example, or to do other stuff, to more think about new ventures and new countries. Than just be every week in Germany.
Yeah. So backtracking a little bit to the beginning of Joiz, I mean, a lot of startups, they have a web product, they have an idea, you need, to throw up a website, you need a couple servers. With a TV station, you need
more than a server.
A lot of hardware, a lot of equipment, a lot of initial capital. I guess you needed. In Switzerland, it's very hard to come by seed capital. So how did that happen? I assume it's sort of a chicken and egg, because you couldn't make an MVP because you need a studio. Or were you able to piggyback on the former TV station you're working on?
No, I'm absolutely with you. But one thing has changed in the last 10 years. If I look to TV cameras, you're looking to the guy there. That's a TV camera right now, and this is amazing. I mean, if I combine or compare it to 10 years ago, you had this camera, and the camera, I mean, the cost was about 150,000 Swiss francs per camera. So you need really a lot of money, and I think this is also one of the points why the TV industry is still, let's say, very old-fashioned, because to start in this field needs a lot of money. And I think because you need a lot of money, there's not a lot of innovation, because it's always our big companies doing that, and normally big companies are not that innovative, as I already mentioned. But for the series round, what does it mean for us? Because we had a business plan, we knew that exactly we need money to do that, and the first round was a big round, so that's that easy.
So you got your funding and then
Yes,
you started.
Absolutely.
That's nice. It's a good success story. I guess, like you said, if you have the fundamentals in place, if you have a solid business idea, you have a good team.
Yeah, but I have to say the team. I mean, the venture capitalists, they believed in the team. That's the only thing what they had, and a very good PowerPoint presentation, and I would say not that bad forecast and business plan, and realistic business plan, and what they also saw, and I think this was the strong thing, that the TV industry is turning right now. The whole business model, and I think this is always, if something is really going on in the business, this is a good thing for new players. And I mean, it's important that was the market thing. The product, as I mentioned, was sort of a business plan, and then the team.
Yeah. And what advice would you give a young Alexander? Do you wish when you were young, when you were 15 or 17, you would have tried other things, or?
No, what I really missed also as a student, I mean, I learned a lot about physics and stuff like this as an engineer, and I learned a little bit programming and stuff like this, but I never had not one lesson about business plans, about financial stuff. I think this is not good, and I think it's changed also at the ETH today. You have that, but 15 or 20 years ago it wasn't like this, and that's very bad. Because I strongly believe, I mean, I can't count. That's the good thing about being an engineer. It's not easy, not that easy, not complicated for me to fill out a spreadsheet. That's the easy part. But the not so easy part is really was in the beginning to have all this. Yeah, I mean, business plan knowledge wasn't there. Even if I had two companies before with the bar, but it was more, let's do bar, Jack, go for it, and we did it on the ground. And I mean, we have 10 employees since 12 years now, so it's absolutely okay. And the last year was the best year in our business, and I was never in the bar, so I have to say that even if I wasn't there, so it looks rather good to the business. And yes, I wrote the business plan. It's very important.
And you personally?
I personally, I did it myself. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, it's a key, I think, element to
Absolutely.
Clarifying your thoughts, and that you also can sell that idea to the investors. Mm-hmm. And what advice would you give to Swiss entrepreneurs wanting to start a business today?
Also go for it. I mean,
just do it.
Don't think too much. I mean, the point is really what can happen. We have in Switzerland, we have that many things that can help if it really fails. I mean, that's not a big issue. Even now, if Joiz would fail right now, I mean, you never know. We have the Arbeitslosenversicherung, I don't know in English now, but it's rather easy. I mean, then that's very, very bad, and I strongly believe it never will happen. But even if it would happen, if something, I don't know, global crisis or whatever would happen, and the media sector would be afforded by something very big, even then I'm not that. I mean, it can happen. That's how it is. But on the other hand, I strongly believe that we need entrepreneurs in this country, and especially we have a lot of, as I mentioned already, we have a lot of skills here. I strongly believe that it's possible.
And once the company starts growing beyond their first 3-5 employees, what do you think is the most important thing to start taking into account as a founder? Once you start,
Yeah.
your first hires, I mean, after the first couple of months, or I mean, of course, every situation is different, but you have your core team, you start rolling, and then, okay, now we need to hire 3 more people.
Yeah, again, I think that the right people it's absolutely the most important thing, that you really find the right people.
Are you involved in the hiring?
Yes, I'm still involved.
What is something a key thing that you look for when you hire someone?
I mean, skills. Obviously, that's something easy. I also have a watch on the CV, but I'm not really into the CV thing, because I strongly believe more in skills. And just to give you an example, we have in our gallery, we have directors who do the TV stuff, who enter the right buttons, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, stuff like this. So our best director was, before Joiz, he was cook. So looking to the CV, he wasn't really made for this job because he was cook. But on the other hand, we saw that he was very talented in all this technique thing, and we gave him a chance, and he was intern first. Because he strongly was into Joiz, and yes, and we had a good feeling. He was as a person very good, and what I learned after that, today he's our best director, I have to say that. Because the situation in a kitchen is absolutely the same as a director, because he's like cooking, immediately right now the show, and even if something's happening, and in the kitchen always is something happening, the waiters come in, for table 8 you need this, they have to cook, and they don't have to be very hurried, they have to look, okay, easy, this, and then they're coming, oh no, sorry, it was my mistake, instead of this we need this, okay, no worries, and he's doing this. And it's the same in a gallery. They have to be there, and especially if you do real-time interactions, you need a lot of multitasking, extremely stress resistance. And I mean, as a cook, he has that absolutely. He's very used to do that. He's very calm. A bomb could explode, he would do his job, no problem. And he's a Swiss guy. We took him to Germany to do the launch there again, because he's really. And I mean, if you look to the CV, he was cook. Yeah. It couldn't be possible that he could be a director. The other thing is, for example, one of our, I would say, best camera guys. He was a professional golfer. So again, that's not possible. But on the other hand, again, his mind is that concentrated. If he hits the ball, it's absolutely the same with the camera. He's that concentrated. He knows exactly if something is flying away. He knows exactly what to do with his camera. Yeah. And this is always. I mean, if you really go to the classical HR things, you don't find them. So what we do is always, and this is very. I mean, you have to spend a lot of time with that. You have to spend time with the people. They have normally 1 day with us, or we speak with them, and that's rather hard really to say it's like this or like this, like that. But I think the most important part is really to spend a lot of time with them, and to have a gut feeling for that.
Right.
Sounds crazy, but it's how it is.
It's very true. And like I said, unfortunately, it's not the usual approach, and probably a lot of people miss out on some very key talent by taking the usual approach.
But the point maybe in our business is that, as I mentioned, the TV industry is changing a lot. That means also for people who's working in this industry, it's changing a lot. And if you're just looking for the classical way, they can do maybe A, but they can't do A and B maybe together. And maybe
most, and it's not only TV, but most businesses nowadays, even the long-term businesses, everything is changing. So again, I was talking to someone earlier. Really is. It's not that one, badge that the person carries that is the most important thing, because it's such a changing environment that you need to look at a bigger picture. And have you had any moments when you thought, I've made it?
I made it? No. No, I mean, I have to say we are now 3.5 years old, and I strongly believe we have a long way to go. I mean, we're now in Switzerland, Germany, so that's not the biggest part of the world. So, so we have to work a lot.
Would you consider selling an
company?
exit? Yeah, having an exit.
I mean, I have to be honest. We have a VC on board. One day he has to sell his shares. That's how it is. That's the business. So, and I know it has not to be next day or maybe next year or even in a year after. So we are not in a hurry. But I know it will be one day that he sells his stake on Joiz, and I'm not sure what's then. I mean, it really can be in different ways, and I'm very open to that. But that's not really right now the focus on it.
And was there a time when one of your ventures, one of your businesses failed, and how did you react to that? How did you come back from that failure?
I mean, I never had right now a business that completely failed, but for sure in Joiz we had different things that didn't happen. We had also in the team sometimes, I mean, we have to say, sometimes even if we tried everything out, even if we had a lot of time together, it doesn't work, for example, or we had a branch where we think that could be a good opportunity and we had to see that it didn't work really. It's always what I learned is don't act, don't think too much. I mean, if it doesn't work, you have to act, that's the point. And you can, even if you have a gut feeling it doesn't work anymore, you can try it, but if you feel it, that's over, you have to change something. So I think this is the most, I mean, sometimes also it needs a lot of power that you have to decide always, and you never know if the decision is right. So it's not something for people who really believe that they can't decide. So I think to be an entrepreneur is always doing decisions every day, every hour you decide something. Sometimes it's a big issue, sometimes it's a small issue, but you have to decide. And the weakest thing what you can do is not decide. Just say, yes, maybe tomorrow, or look next month. So that's also personally what I learned. Especially with other team members. In the beginning it was rather hard for me to fire somebody, I have to say that, because it's personally, it's not something very funny, but sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes maybe it's not the person, but maybe they don't really fit with the company, because maybe they, for example, we had a guy, an IT guy, he's now working for the government. That's very nice. That's not an entrepreneurship. So he's really into another mindset, and he's really somebody who wants to go at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He wants to go to the body. That's nice. That's not no bad feelings. He's a very kind person, but it doesn't work at the startup. That's how it is. So, but working now for this government, I mean, that's nice. You can do that every day. No problem. That's how it is.
Speaking of the body, how do you balance your work life with your relax, being in a startup in a very fast-paced environment and an entrepreneur? Yeah,
you have to manage that. So what I do personally is I'm going jogging. What I personally do is I also spend time with my friends, my family. So I think this is also very important to have it. And I try not. I mean, that's easy said, but I try not to work, not really to work on a weekend. I really spend a lot of time also in the office during the week. As I really work a lot. I fly a lot around Europe for partners, for my business in Berlin. But I try that the weekend, and especially one day of the weekend, I really try also to put my mobile phone away. Because I know I could work every day 30 hours more. I know that. There's no end. So and I think I strongly believe that Joiz is not at the end. So I need more, maybe 5 years more to really push the company into the next level. So I need this energy. So it's not a sprint. It's something that you really have to look to that, and everybody has to find his own way to do it. For me, it's going jogging because I also like the forest, and I'm alone there, and sometimes I have very good ideas for the business. I have to say that also, even if I try not to think about it, but it comes out of the forest somewhere. I don't know where, but it's working. It's working. So it's also very creative, and I think this is and I think also on the other hand, I strongly feel my body, and I also feel if I'm a little bit too tired, I have to do something against it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be an entrepreneur and you think that you don't have to work a lot, then you're right.
Yeah, well, like you said, I guess as long as you are aware of the long term and pace yourself, then because you don't want to. If you burn the candle too quick, then that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
I have one question. You mentioned earlier that it's very difficult for established businesses to innovate and come up with new ideas. Is there anything that you see that the way things are going with Joiz, that in 4 or 5 years this is going to be a problem for you?
Yeah, I mean, if you do new stuff, you have two different axes. It's always time and money. If you have a lot of money, you don't need a lot of time. If you don't have a lot of time, you don't need a lot of money. So what we try to do is always without money and in a very short time to do something that's sometimes not possible. So I'm absolutely sure that if somebody has a lot of money, I mean, maybe I have to say, what's Joiz? I think we have 4 pillars. So one thing is technology. I would say we are a technology company. We have, let's say, 35-40% of Joiz is technology. We have patents and stuff like this. So, I mean, as you know, you can copy that. It's even if you have patents, you can find in a way something, but you don't do it in 2 months. So I don't know. Maybe our head of development, Eric, he's somewhere here. He has another an idea than I have. I would say you have a year or maybe 1.5, not more, if you really have a lot of money and a lot of developers to reproduce what we have more in a way. This is one thing. The other thing then, but it's not just technology. The other thing is that you need knowledge to sell products. It's a new thing, so it needs not only the sales guys who has to change their mind from selling. In our business, you sell eyeballs normally. What we sell is interactions. It's an engagement business, and that's the same like Facebook. It's not rocket science, but on the other hand, if you go to the normal media company, they say reach eyeballs, not more. So you need knowledge to do that. Externally to sell it, but also internally to do all the workflows. And the most embarrassing thing in my previous job was always I was one of the developers of new formats for Swiss TV, and always if we invented something, we go to technically the department and they said no, never. And then we said why? Because we never did that before. It's like, that's the reason why I'm here. I have to do stuff we never did before. No, that's not gonna working. So it was always the same. They always look back if they have something like this, and if they didn't have it, they said no, that's not possible. I'm so sorry. And I think to implement that in a huge company, that needs a lot of effort. Even if somebody from upstairs saying you have to do it, they're saying yes, but that's very complicated. So it's not, and that's the same thing what we see if I compare us with other TV companies. I mean, it's not the business that the guys from RTL or from Pro7 or from Turner internationally, they don't see what we do. Everybody's seeing what we're doing, but to do it internally, it's rather hard to do it. Even if you have a lot of money, you have to do it. For example, in Germany, maybe the best case is the Dschungelcamp. It's the most successful show in Germany. They have 50% of the market. That means about, 8 million people watching it. I mean, they had also sort of a second screen approach like we have, and it was, even if we didn't, it was a shame to see it because it didn't work really, and it was really hard to say. Even if you have the biggest show you have, you spend money to do it, and it didn't work. And why? I mean, I wasn't inside, but it's always the same. One thing is technology. The other thing is that the guys have to use it in a daily basis, and the third thing is that they have to sell it also. And this knowledge, it's not that hard, not that easy to implement. And especially if a lot of people, stakeholders are involved, it's rather hard to do it. And that's the I think the most complex thing. If you have huge teams, 100 people, and they have to do new stuff, that's hard to manage that. Especially if 5 people there say no, sometimes it didn't work.
How do you motivate sometimes personnel or as well your friends working with you, your colleagues, when you realize they're not working anymore 12 hours like you, but they go down to 8, 9 hours? I know this is a difficult topic in startup because at one side you want to push the guys to really deliver what you expect, not only the 9 hours, I'm not speaking of that, but as well what they can achieve within their time. But sometimes, yeah, as you say yourself, working 8 hours, you could find another job, right? So how do you face this approach, or what is your experience there?
So the amount of hours, I really don't care what they do. So I don't have any spreadsheet where we count the hours. I'm also fine if somebody only works 5 hours, but he's very genius. I don't care about hours. So I think the best motivation, and sometimes it's the opposite around, that we have to say, let's go home, because everybody is really, they work hard on it. And the core of it is a passion. We all discuss a lot about Joiz, and everybody, I would say, mostly everybody, it's always hard to say 100%, but I would say mostly everybody is really into Joiz, is part of Joiz. And we have some slogans, but just sometimes we laugh about it, like work hard, Joiz easy. That really, I think, explain rather good what we do, because we strongly believe that and it's always hard to say, and as Swizz, normally we are very calm and not saying we are the best, but I strongly believe that we're one of the Europeans' leading social TV channels. It means mostly interaction, and I also see what in the US is happening. I would also say not only in Europe, maybe also in the US, and I'm not the only one who sees that. So it's also for everybody. We get a lot of feedback, and everybody's working hard on that. So it's more about the passion to do something than just to motivate him with a spreadsheet saying you have to work 9 hours or 10 hours or 8 hours. But for sure, especially in Switzerland, we are a startup company. But in Germany, maybe not, because all of them, and as we had the press announcement that we go to Germany. After that, we had about 3,500 people who want to work for us. So it was huge, and for all of them, we were not a startup company anymore, because we already had a success in Switzerland. It was sort of the second company in Germany, and for them it wasn't really a startup company, because we were already established, and they heard a lot about us, and they think that's good. So I think it's another way, and it's more a normal company than maybe in Switzerland, where we really I strongly believe that we have sort of a startup spirit. But on the other hand, what we have internally, I think this is very important, we have a lot of, let's say, startup culture. For example, we are very open, so everybody hears where we are, incomes also, we talk about also revenues, we talk about our KPIs, we talk about things that didn't work. Every Friday we have an apéro paid by the management team. So since the start, and sometimes there are only 2 people there, sometimes 20, sometimes more, sometimes 50. It's not an obligation, but everybody has to join there. We speak. Last Friday, for example, we spoke about the new campaign we have in Germany. We brainstormed with drinking beers. What could be the claim? Is the claim the right one? And stuff like this. I think this is. So it's a feeling, it's an environment where you have to build. I mean, here in Google you see that it's an environment, but it's not like just you paint your colors at the wall. It's more an inside thing, and I think it's hard to say. Everybody has another approach, but maybe you have to talk if you have 2 or 3 guys from Joiz here, you have to talk with them afterwards how I act. But I think especially as a CEO, you have to be really at the front and you have to talk with the guys. Sometimes it's working, sometimes not. But that's one of my feelings I have. Every day I take 1 hour with no meetings, no tasks, just to talk with people. Sometimes I can find a solution, sometimes I have an idea, sometimes I just hear a problem, sometimes I talk with them, sometimes I drink a beer with them, sometimes, I don't know, we eat lunch. That's very important to feel it. Sometimes it didn't work, sometimes I'm 5 days away driving around or flying around, but I try really to find...
the motivation is your personal engagement.
That's very important. I think one thing is to sell the stuff outside like I do it right now, but the other thing is really to feel inside what's going on.
Right.
It's very important, especially with the sales guys who are really out in the field to try to sell stuff. It's important to hear feedback from them, what we have to do. Mm-hmm. It's one thing, but also internally, people who do operations, people who do the editorial stuff, it's really also it's interesting to hear what they have. Because all of them, and that's a good thing with social media, all of them are part of PR people, Joiz. So we have 120 PR people. Everybody's on Facebook, on Twitter and stuff like this. Everybody's tweeting every day about Joiz, about how they act, how they are part of Joiz. I think it's very important for us. It's a very powerful tool.
One last question. Are you guys looking for people?
Yes.
You're hiring?
Yes.
Technical?
Always. Yes, we're always hiring. So, Eric, where are you? If somebody is a good coder, go to Eric. Now, this is one of the biggest problems we're facing in Switzerland, I have to say that.
It's a bit of a, where we have to, so Google is also looking for technical people.
I know that. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe today go to Eric, please.
But depending on your skill set and different variety, if you're a good cook, you might find a...
Yes, maybe not as a programmer, but maybe we find another job for you.
So like I said, both Google, they told me that they're definitely looking for technical people, and as Alexander said, Joiz is also looking for a variety of people. So you have his Twitter ID, you can tweet him, or you can contact Eric. Alexander, you'll still be around for a little while?
For sure.
We now need to wrap up this current part of our talk. But it was a big pleasure to hear your story and get the insights that you were able to share with us, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.